Nobody noticed the maid's secret, not the billionaire hosting the dinner, not the guests clinking glasses under chandeliers, and certainly not the heir who suddenly collapsed in front of them all. But Elena did. Because the moment Adrian Whitmore hit the floor, gasping for breath, she knew exactly what was happening to him, the same thing that killed her sister. The same thing his family covered up. The same thing she has spent years trying to outrun. Now the cure she risked everything to steal is gone, a mysterious girl is begging for her trust, and a powerful family will do anything to silence her. And when Elena discovers that her sister isn't dead at all, everything she thought she knew shatters. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to stay updated for more thrilling stories. For 3 years, Elena had moved quietly through the Whitmore estate, dusting crystal vases, pressing crisp linens, and keeping her gaze lowered whenever the family entered a room. The staff called her the Shadow, partly because she never caused trouble, and partly because no one knew much about her at all. But every night, when she thought no one was watching, Elena paused outside the framed photos in the grand hallway, especially the one of Mrs. Whitmore and a baby girl wrapped in a yellow blanket. She always lingered there just a little too long. Still, no one questioned the gentle maid who worked harder than anyone and asked for nothing. Not until the night of the Whitmores' annual charity dinner. The mansion glowed with chandeliers. Laughter bubbled through the halls. Elena moved between tables with grace, delivering dishes that looked too perfect to eat. And though she tried to remain invisible, she kept glancing at the head table, at Adrian Whitmore, the family's only son. 27, charming, brilliant, and very sick, though the public didn't know that part. Only the family, and Elena. As she refilled water glasses, her hand trembled. Because she, not the doctors, knew exactly what was causing his mysterious illness. And she knew who else carried the same genetic marker. The same one she carried. Adrian lifted his wine glass, smiling as he prepared to give a toast. His voice rang clear and warm. Then it faltered. The glass slipped from his hand. He staggered sideways. Gasps erupted. Someone screamed. Mr. Whitmore leapt to his feet as Adrian collapsed across the white tablecloth, knocking candles to the floor. Guests surged forward, shouting for a doctor. But Elena moved first. She dropped to her knees beside him, her hands steady in a way that shocked even herself. "Adrian, stay with me," she whispered, her voice cracking as she brushed hair from his forehead. Mrs. Whitmore stared at her, not with anger, but with a strange, dawning recognition. "Elena," she breathed. How do you know what to do?" Elena's heart pounded. She had kept the truth buried for years, for everyone's protection. But as Adrian's breathing grew faint, she realized she could no longer hide. Not from them. Not from him. Not from the secret that bound them. She swallowed hard, tears filling her eyes. "I know what's happening to him," Elena said, voice trembling. "Because it happened to someone else." Mrs. Whitmore's face went white. "Elena, who? Who are you talking about?" Elena lifted her gaze at last, no longer a shadow, but someone with a truth powerful enough to shatter everything. "My sister," she said softly. "Your daughter." And then, before anyone could speak, Adrian's body went completely still. Slash. Mrs. Whitmore froze, her breath catching as though Elena's words had struck her physically. The ballroom noise faded into a stunned hush. Only the clatter of a toppled chair broke the silence. My daughter?" Mrs. Whitmore whispered. Her hands trembled as she reached for Elena's arm. Elena, what are you talking about? Our daughter died. She didn't. Elena's voice cracked. She lived. And she was my sister. Before Mrs. Whitmore could respond, a strangled gasp escaped Adrian's throat. His body jerked once, then went limp again. Panic surged. Someone call an ambulance. Mr. Whitmore barked, but Elena shook her head urgently. They can't help him, she said. Not fast enough. He needs the stabilizer treatment, now. Mr. Whitmore spun toward her. What treatment? The doctors ruled out everything. Elena swallowed hard. Her hands hovered above Adrian's chest, steady, practiced, haunted. Because they were looking in the wrong direction, she said. This isn't a common condition. It's a recessive disorder. My sister had it. Adrian has it. And I've carried the counterprotein her doctors spent years studying. Mrs. Whitmore's eyes widened. Are you saying you were involved in her care? Elena nodded slowly. I was with her until the end. I administered her treatments. I memorized every protocol. It's why I took this job, why I stayed. I knew someone here might carry it too, and I was afraid. Afraid of what? Mr. Whitmore demanded, voice breaking between anger and desperation. Elena hesitated, then whispered the truth. Afraid you would send me away. Because of who my sister was, and what really happened to her. A ripple of confusion passed through the room. Even the guests closest to the doors had stopped in their tracks, too stunned to leave. Elena, Mrs. Whitmore whispered, what do you mean? What happened to her? Elena opened her mouth. And Adrian suddenly convulsed, his eyes rolling back. Elena grabbed his hand. Hold on, Adrian. Please. I'm here. I won't lose another one. Her voice broke completely. Mrs. Whitmore sank to her knees beside them. Tell me how to help him. But Elena didn't answer. She stared at the tall doors at the far end of the hall, the ones now creaking open. A familiar figure stepped inside. Someone Elena had prayed she would never see again. Her face drained of color. Mr. Whitmore followed her gaze. Who is that? Elena's voice came out a shaky whisper. The reason my sister died. The figure stepped fully into the ballroom light, and the temperature in the room seemed to drop. Dr. Marcus Hale. Tall. Immaculate. Expressionless. His silver-rimmed glasses glinted as he surveyed the chaos, Adrian unconscious, Mrs. Whitmore trembling, and Elena frozen like she'd just seen a ghost. Mrs. Whitmore gasped. Marcus? What are you doing here? We haven't seen you since. Since your foundation cut my research funding, Dr. Hale replied smoothly. A regrettable decision. Elena clutched Adrian's hand tighter. You shouldn't be here. You lost your license. You shouldn't be anywhere near this family. Murmurs rippled through the guests. A few stepped backward. Mr. Whitmore stiffened. Lost his what? Dr. Hale ignored the question and walked closer, his polished shoes echoing sharply on the marble. Elena, he said, his tone strangely calm. You're in over your head. You're repeating mistakes you don't understand. I understand plenty, Elena said, her voice trembling yet fierce. You abandoned my sister's treatment when she needed it most. You told us she wasn't worth the expense. Mrs. Whitmore gasped. Dr. Hale's jaw twitched. Your sister was a compassionate case. Experimental treatment. The odds were never. Don't. Elena snapped, tears burning her eyes. You gave up on her. I never did. Silence. Heavy. Uncomfortable. Dr. Hale crouched beside Adrian with unsettling ease. His symptoms are accelerating. If you've been using the old stabilizer formula, then you're already too late. That version degraded years ago. Elena's breath caught. No. I stored it correctly. It doesn't matter, Dr. Hale said. He needs the updated compound. And I'm the only one who has access to it. Mr. Whitmore stepped forward angrily. If you have something that can save my son, you give it to us. Now. But Dr. Hale didn't look at him. He looked at Elena. Tell them, he said softly. Tell them what it will cost. A tremor went through her. Mrs. Whitmore turned to Elena, voice cracking. What is he talking about? What cost? Elena shook her head, tears slipping free. It's complicated. Dr. Hale stood, folding his hands behind his back. Not complicated, he said. Simple. The stabilizer can only be synthesized with a sample from someone carrying the counterprotein. Mrs. Whitmore frowned. You mean? He nodded toward Elena. Yes. Her. Adrian's body jerked in another faint spasm. His breathing grew uneven, shallow. Elena, Mrs. Whitmore whispered, her voice breaking, please, can you help him? Elena hesitated, not out of fear for herself, but because of the truth she still hadn't revealed, the truth no one here was prepared to hear. Before I do anything, she said shakily, looking between Mr. and Mrs. Whitmore, you need to know the whole story. About your daughter. About my sister. About why I came here in the first place. Mr. Whitmore nodded urgently. Then tell us. Please. Tell us everything. Elena took a trembling breath. She opened her mouth. And suddenly the mansion's power cut out, plunging the ballroom into darkness. Guests screamed. Glass shattered. Someone ran. In the pitch black, a single voice rose above the panic. Elena's. Someone took Adrian. For a moment, the ballroom was a swirl of darkness, frantic footsteps, and terrified voices. Someone knocked over a serving tray. A woman cried out. A man shouted for security. But Elena didn't move. She couldn't. Because the space where Adrian's body had been, right beneath her hands, was now empty. Adrian, she screamed again, her voice slicing through the chaos. Someone took him. The emergency lights flickered on, bathing the room in a pale, trembling glow. Mr. Whitmore sprinted forward. Where is he? Where? But the floor told the story, a trail of disrupted footprints, a toppled chair, and drag marks leading toward the service corridor that only staff ever used. Mrs. Whitmore clutched her chest, breath coming in short, painful bursts. No, 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 no. Dr. Hale lifted a hand, unervingly composed. They're moving quickly. Whoever took him knew exactly what the blackout would do. Elena spun toward him, eyes blazing. You knew this would happen. On the contrary, Dr. Hale said calmly, I expected resistance, not a kidnapping. Kidnapping? Mrs. Whitmore cried, tears streaking down her face. He's dying, Marcus. Who would even, why would? Elena's breath caught in her throat. she knew why. Or rather, who. Her gaze drifted to the darkened hallway. A cold, familiar dread sank deep into her chest. Because there was only one person desperate enough, clever enough, and cruel enough to take Adrian as leverage. Elena? Mr. Whitmore demanded. What are you thinking? Do you know who did this? Elena's lips parted, but she didn't speak immediately. Her heart raced so hard it hurt. She never thought she would have to face this part of her past, not here, not with these people, not with Adrian's life hanging by a thread. But running from the truth had already cost her one person she loved. She couldn't let it cost another. Elena, Mrs. Whitmore pleaded. Please. If you know something, you have to tell us. Elena looked up, tears gathering, but her expression had hardened with resolve. It wasn't a stranger, she whispered. It wasn't an enemy of your family. It was someone connected to mine. Mrs. Whitmore froze. Dr. Hale narrowed his eyes. My sister didn't die of the illness, Elena said, voice trembling. She died because someone sabotaged her treatment. Someone who blamed your family, and mine. The room went silent. Who? Mr. Whitmore demanded. Who would do that? Elena swallowed. My father. A collective gasp rippled through the room. Mrs. Whitmore staggered back. Your father? But you told us he disappeared years ago. He did, Elena said. And now I know why. He wasn't hiding from the world. She stepped toward the corridor, her voice growing quieter, and more fearful. He was preparing for this. Dr. Hale's face drained of color. Elena, you don't mean. Yes, she whispered. He took Adrian. Mr. Whitmore surged forward. Then we're going after him. Now. But Dr. Hale grabbed his arm. You can't. Not without the stabilizer. If the boy crashes in your arms out there, he's lost. Elena closed her eyes, pain twisting through her chest. She remembered her sister's last breaths. She would not let Adrian become another memory. What do you need from me? Elena asked quietly. Dr. Hale hesitated. A blood sample. Large enough to synthesize the compound. And quickly. Mrs. Whitmore turned desperately to Elena. Please, please, help him. Elena nodded, though fear trembled in every bone. Then let's go, she said. But the moment she stepped toward Dr. Hale, a deafening crash erupted from the far end of the service corridor. Everyone whipped their heads toward the sound. Slowly, painfully slowly. A shadow stepped into view. Someone carrying a limp body in their arms. Elena felt her blood turn to ice. Dad, she breathed. He lifted his head, eyes wild, voice ragged. Take one more step toward that doctor, he growled, tightening his grip on Adrian, and I swear, you'll lose him just like you lost your sister. Elena's knees nearly buckled. Her father looked nothing like the man she remembered, nothing like the quiet, gentle mechanic who once braided her hair before school and snuck chocolate into her lunchbox. His beard was rough, his clothes disheveled, and his eyes, they were the eyes of someone who had lived too long in shadows. He held Adrian as if the young man weighed nothing, one arm braced under his shoulders, the other gripping him fiercely, protectively, and dangerously. Dad, Elena whispered, voice trembling. Please. He can't survive without the treatment. You know that. Her father's expression twisted into something pained and furious. "The treatment," he spat. "The same treatment that killed your sister? The same one Whitmore money bought and then abandoned? You want me to trust him," he nodded sharply at Dr. Hale, "with another child's life?" Mrs. Whitmore flinched as if struck. "That is not true," she cried. "We never abandoned her. We didn't even know." "You didn't know because they hid her," he snapped, eyes blazing. "They hid her so your world wouldn't see your failures." Tears pricked Elena's eyes. "Dad, stop. This isn't about blame. This is about Adrian. He's innocent." Her father's grip tightened. "No one in that family is innocent," he growled. "Your sister died because their foundation cut the research that could have saved her. Don't you dare defend." "She died," Elena interrupted softly, desperately, "because someone tampered with her medicine." The room froze. Her father's face went white. "You think I don't know that?" Elena swallowed. "I know, Dad. But the person who did it, it wasn't them." Dr. Hale stiffened beside her. Mr. Whitmore took a cautious step forward. "Elena, what are you saying?" But Elena could barely breathe. Because for years she had feared this moment. The moment she would have to speak the truth she had buried so deep it still kept her up at night. "Dad," she whispered, tears spilling over, "the vial that killed her, the police traced the contamination to our house. To your tools. To your workbench." Her father's jaw clenched. "I was framed." "Were you?" Dr. Hale said coldly. Her father's expression snapped into fury. "You shut your mouth." "No," Elena said suddenly, loudly enough that even the panicked guests fell silent. "No more half-truths. No more secrets. If we don't stop hiding, Adrian will die too." Her father's eyes glistened with something raw, fear, maybe. Grief. Rage. All tangled together. "Elena," he said weakly, "I did what I had to do for you girls." "You think this is protecting me?" she cried. "Or him?" Her father didn't answer. Adrian's hand twitched weakly. He moaned, a faint, broken sound. Mrs. Whitmore gasped, covering her mouth. "Dad," Elena pleaded, stepping toward him, "please let me help him. You know I can. You taught me everything you knew. You taught me to save people, not." "Stop." Her father's shout echoed off the marble. Everyone went still. His voice cracked as he held Adrian tighter, like a shield. "If anyone comes closer," he rasped, "if anyone touches her, or him, I walk out that door and I don't stop." Security hovered near the edges of the room, unsure whether to advance or stand down. Elena took a careful breath. "What do you want?" Her father closed his eyes. And when he opened them, Elena saw a man breaking. "I want the truth," he whispered. "The truth about what happened to my daughter, and I want it from the person who took her from us." Dr. Hale's jaw tightened. Mr. Whitmore looked confused, terrified. Mrs. Whitmore looked like she was about to faint. Elena's heart pounded. "Dad," she whispered. "Who do you think did it?" Her father raised a shaking hand. And pointed directly at Mrs. Whitmore. A horrified gasp swept the room. Mrs. Whitmore stumbled backward, nearly falling. "What? No. I loved that child. I would never." "You always knew," her father said flatly. "You knew who she was. You knew what she meant to my family. And you let her die anyway. Mrs. Whitmore clasped her trembling hands. I swear to you, I didn't know anything. I didn't even know she existed until tonight. Her father's voice hardened. Liar. Dad, Elena whispered desperately, please, this isn't helping. We need to save Adrian, not point fingers. Her father's shoulders rose and fell with ragged breaths. For a long moment, no one moved. Then, slowly, very slowly, he reached into his jacket. Security tensed. Elena's breath caught. Dad, she warned, voice trembling. What are you doing? Her father pulled out a small, silver vial. Dr. Hale inhaled sharply. Is that? Yes, her father said. The updated stabilizer. I stole it. Elena stared in shock. You had it all along? I needed leverage, he said quietly. To expose the truth. But now. He looked down at Adrian, pale, limp, fading. Something inside him cracked. I don't want another child to die. He extended the vial. Elena's heart soared with relief. But then. A gunshot shattered the moment. The vial slipped from her father's fingers. And shattered on the marble floor. The shattering vial echoed like a scream. A thin mist of silver droplets spread across the marble floor, sparkling under the emergency lights before vanishing into useless streaks. No, Elena whispered, falling to her knees. No, 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 Dad. Why did you drop it? But her father wasn't answering. He was staring at his hand, red now, blood dripping between his fingers. The gunshot had hit him. Dad! Elena cried, scrambling toward him. Security ran forward. Guests panicked. Mrs. Whitmore sobbed into her hands. Adrian lay motionless in her father's weakening arms. For a split second, everything was chaos. Then a voice rang out, sharp and commanding. Everyone, freeze! All eyes snapped toward the upper balcony. A figure stepped into the dim light, holding a still-smoking handgun, their silhouette crisp and unshaking. Gasps erupted around the room. It was Ms. Albright. The Whitmores' longtime chief of staff. The woman who hired Elena. The one who managed every detail of the household with calm perfection. Elena stared, stunned. Ms. Albright? You, why would you? Ms. Albright descended the staircase with measured steps, her expression as cold as carved stone. I told all of you to stay still, she said quietly. He was about to ruin everything. Mr. Whitmore shouted, You shot him? Have you lost your mind? But Ms. Albright didn't even glance at him. She walked straight toward Elena's father, heels clicking sharply, every step full of purpose. Elijah, she said, voice low. I warned you not to interfere. You promised me you would stay silent. Elena froze. Her father coughed, blood staining his shirt. You lied to me, he rasped. You said you wanted justice. I do, Ms. Albright said simply. But justice requires order. And you're losing control. You used me, he gasped. You told me the Whitmores knew what happened to my daughter. You told me they covered it up. And you, she said with a faint, icy smile, believed me. Because grief makes fools of even the strongest men. Elena's stomach twisted. She didn't understand, not fully, but she understood enough. Ms. Albright, she whispered, what did you do? Ms. Albright's eyes flickered toward Elena, and something like disappointment flashed in them. You were supposed to stay out of this, she said. You were supposed to keep your head down and let the plan unfold. What plan? Elena asked, voice trembling. Someone, Ms. Albright said, needed to answer for your sister's death. And someone needed to pay for the years I spent cleaning up the Whitmore family's sins. Mrs. Whitmore shook her head violently. We didn't do anything. Ms. Albright tilted her head. Not directly. That's what makes it messy. Elena's heart pounded. Adrian is dying. The stabilizer is destroyed. Ms. Albright finally looked at Adrian, pale, still, barely breathing. Her expression did not soften. It's unfortunate, she said quietly. Truly. But sacrifices. Elena lunged at her. Fury, grief, terror, all at once. But Ms. Albright was shockingly fast. In one swift motion, she stepped back, raised her weapon, and pointed it directly at Elena. No, Elena, she said, her voice eerily calm. You don't understand what's at stake. Elena froze, breath shaking. Her father groaned, collapsing to the floor. Adrian slipped from his arms and lay crumpled beside him. Dr. Hale stepped forward, hands raised. Albright, think about this. Killing them won't fix anything. Oh, doctor, Ms. Albright said with a small, chilling smile. You of all people should know, sometimes it does. Security edged closer, weapons drawn. Ms. Albright didn't flinch. Stay back, she warned, or I end this entire family line tonight. A collective gasp rippled through the room. Elena, she continued, step away from them. If you don't, I'll. A sudden cough cut her off. A weak, hollow cough. Everyone turned. Adrian's fingers twitched. His eyes fluttered open, barely. Elena. He reached toward her. She crawled to him instantly, ignoring the gun trained on her. I'm here, she whispered. I'm right here. His lips moved, but no words came. His breath hitched, shallow and fading. Ms. Albright tightened her grip on the gun. Step away from him, Elena. Elena didn't move. He needs you, she murmured, to him, to herself, to fate. Step away, Ms. Albright repeated. But another voice suddenly echoed across the room. One that froze Elena in place. Don't touch my son. Everyone turned. Mrs. Whitmore had risen to her full height, shaking, but fierce, with something hidden behind her back. Something she now lifted into view. A vial. Intact. Unbroken. Filled with shimmering silver. Ms. Albright's eyes widened in horror. That's impossible. Mrs. Whitmore's voice trembled, but her gaze was steady. No, she said. It's been hidden for years. You're not the only one capable of keeping secrets. Elena stared at the vial, hope exploding in her chest. But then, with a slow, terrifying smile, Ms. Albright said, Are you sure you want to open that, Caroline? Do you really want everyone to know the truth about where that dose came from? Mrs. Whitmore froze. Her hand shook. The vial trembled between her fingers. Elena's breath caught. What truth? Elena whispered. Mrs. Whitmore, what is she talking about? Mrs. Whitmore looked at Elena. grief and guilt flooding her face all at once. And she whispered, "Elena, that vial didn't come from a lab." Her voice cracked. "It came from your sister." Elena felt the ground tilt beneath her. Her breath caught so sharply it hurt. What do you mean it came from my sister?" she whispered. Mrs. Whitmore clutched the vial as if it were burning her hand. Tears streamed down her cheeks. "I never meant for you to find out this way." Elena shook her head, trembling. "My sister died years ago. That vial, my sister never, she couldn't have." "It's true," Ms. Albright said coldly, seizing the moment like a blade. "Caroline kept something from all of you. Something that changes everything." "Be quiet," Mrs. Whitmore cried. "You don't get to twist this." "Oh, I'm not twisting anything," Ms. Albright replied with a bitter smile. "I'm simply reminding you what you already know." Mr. Whitmore stepped forward, face pale. "Caroline, what is she talking about?" Mrs. Whitmore's voice broke. "I only wanted to protect our family, and hers." Elena's heart pounded painfully. "Start from the beginning." Mrs. Whitmore wiped her tears with a shaking hand. "Your sister didn't die because we cut funding. She didn't die because the treatment failed. She died because—" "Caroline." A single warning from Ms. Albright. The gun trembled in her hand now, not from fear, but from adrenaline. Mrs. Whitmore inhaled shakily. "Because the Foundation was trying to save her. We were running a parallel trial you didn't know about. A trial meant to produce a permanent stabilizer. But for the formula to work, we needed the rare protein," Dr. Hale murmured, realization dawning. "From a specific carrier. A nearly impossible match." Mrs. Whitmore nodded miserably. "Your family carried it." Elena's stomach dropped. No, that couldn't be true." "My sister was a donor," she whispered. "For your son? For your research? Without our consent?" Mrs. Whitmore covered her face. "I didn't know she was your sister. I didn't know she had a family who loved her. She was a young girl in a clinic whose parents were unreachable." She glanced painfully at Elena's father, bleeding on the marble floor. "And your father was already missing by then." Elena's father groaned, voice thick with pain. "You took her from us." "No," Mrs. Whitmore said, sobbing. "I found her already in the program. I didn't take her. I tried to help her. I tried to save her life, and in doing so, I used part of it." Elena stared at the vial in horror. "This can't be real," she whispered. "My sister would never have been used like—" "She volunteered," Mrs. Whitmore cried. "She was trying to stay alive. She believed the treatment would save her, and others. When she passed, that final sample was all we had left." Silence fell like a blade. Ms. Albright lowered her gun slightly, smiling in a way that chilled Elena to the bone. "And that, Elena, is why your sister truly died. Because the Whitmores needed her." Mr. Whitmore shouted, "That is not true. Caroline was trying to save a child, our child, and hers. She didn't know." "Enough," Elena whispered. Everyone froze. Elena stood slowly, knees weak, hands trembling, her heart shattering piece by piece. She looked at Mrs. Whitmore first. At Mr. Whitmore next. At Dr. Hale. And finally at her father, bleeding, broken, and staring at her with desperate eyes. You all lied, she said softly. All of you. And now Adrian is dying because of secrets none of us deserved. Her voice cracked. Give me the vial. Mrs. Whitmore's hands shook violently. Elena, if I give it to you, you'll know everything. All of it. And some truths, once spoken, can't be undone. I don't care anymore, Elena whispered. Give it to me. Adrian doesn't have time. Mrs. Whitmore hesitated. And for a moment, it looked like she would hand it over. But then, a sharp click echoed across the room. Ms. Albright cocked the gun again and aimed straight at Mrs. Whitmore. Step away from her, she ordered Elena. If you touch that vial, I will shoot. Security raised their weapons. Guests screamed. Dr. Hale shouted, "Put it down, Albright." But Ms. Albright's eyes burned with feverish determination. No, she hissed. That vial belongs to me. It was part of the cover-up. Part of the original error. And if Elena uses it, the truth becomes impossible to bury. Mrs. Whitmore gasped. You were there at the research facility. You were overseeing the trial. You saw. I saw enough to destroy all of you, Ms. Albright whispered. And I will. Unless you give me the vial. Elena stepped in front of Mrs. Whitmore, shielding her. You're not taking anything from anyone ever again. Ms. Albright's expression hardened. You move, she said quietly, and I fire. Elena took a single step forward. You fire, she whispered back, and every secret you tried to hide dies with me. Ms. Albright's breath hitched. Her finger tightened. But suddenly, a loud groan echoed from the floor. Adrian's body jerked violently, his back arching, his limbs spasming. His skin turned dangerously pale. Dr. Hale shouted, "He's crashing." Elena, now. Elena reached for the vial. Gunshot. Scream. Glass shatter. Someone fell. But as smoke filled the air, as bodies dove for cover, as echoes rang through the room, Elena looked up at the worst possible sight. The vial was gone. Worse. Someone had taken it. And that someone was already running. Straight out the back door. The room dissolved into chaos. Smoke hung in the air. Guests screamed and scrambled under tables. Security officers sprinted toward the exit. Dr. Hale rushed to Adrian, calling for medical kits. Mr. Whitmore knelt beside his son, shaking, helpless. But Elena didn't hear any of it. She was staring at the back door, still swinging slightly on its hinges. The vial, her sister's last hope, was gone. Elena! Dr. Hale shouted. He has seconds, not minutes. We need that stabilizer now. Her father, still bleeding on the marble, lifted his head weakly. Go, he rasped. Go, honey, before it's too late. Elena's lungs burned. Her heart raced. Her eyes filled. And then she ran. She sprinted toward the service door, pushing past overturned chairs and frightened guests. Her shoes slipped on shattered glass, but she didn't slow. She shoved through the doorway into the narrow service hallway. And froze. Blood. A trail of fresh drops streaked along the tiles, heading toward the loading dock. Someone was injured. And running. Elena raced after them, her breath echoing off the walls. She burst through the back entrance into the night air. Wind whipped her hair. The loading dock was lit only by a few flickering security lights. Then she saw movement. A figure limping across the edge of the parking lot, clutching something small and silver. The vial. "Stop!" Elena shouted, her voice cracking. "Stop! Please!" The figure didn't stop. They stumbled forward, breathing hard, limping heavily, toward an idling black SUV waiting with its back door open, engine rumbling. "No!" Elena cried, sprinting. But the figure turned. And Elena skidded to a halt, shock slamming into her like a wall. It wasn't Ms. Albright. It wasn't a guard. It wasn't one of the Whitmores. The thief was a young woman. Barely 20. Pale. Shaking. Clutching her side as blood soaked her shirt. Her eyes, wide, terrified, locked onto Elena's. "Don't come any closer," the girl gasped. I'm sorry." She said I had to take it. She said if I didn't, Adrian would, she said. She? Elena whispered. Who sent you? But the girl only backed farther toward the SUV, pressing the vial to her chest. Elena saw something then, something that stole her breath. The girl's bracelet. A thin yellow band. The same kind the clinic used. The same kind her sister once wore. Elena's blood ran cold. "Who are you?" she whispered, voice trembling. "Where did you get that?" The girl swallowed hard, eyes filling with tears. "I can't, please, I don't want to hurt anyone, I just..." A hand shot out from inside the SUV. Grabbing her. Shoving her forward. "Move," a voice barked. Elena went rigid. She knew that voice. Ms. Albright climbed halfway out of the vehicle, furious, wild-eyed, her hair undone and face smeared with soot from the gun's recoil. "You idiot," she shouted at the girl. "What took you so long? Give me the vial." "No!" Elena screamed, lunging forward. The injured girl hesitated, terrified, torn, caught between two forces she didn't understand. Ms. Albright snarled. "Give it to me." The girl looked at Elena. Just for a second. And that second was long enough for Elena to see something impossible reflected in her eyes. Recognition. "Please," the girl whispered to Elena, voice breaking. "I'm sorry. I didn't want to be part of this. I just wanted to know." She choked. If the Whitmores had another daughter. Elena froze. "What?" she breathed. But before she could say another word, Ms. Albright yanked the girl backward into the SUV. The vial slipped from the girl's fingers. Then vanished behind the closing door. "Elena," the girl screamed, reaching out. The SUV tires screeched. Smoke billowed. The vehicle shot forward. Elena sprinted after it, lungs burning, vision blurring. "Wait. Please. Come back." But the SUV roared out of the parking lot and disappeared into the night. Elena collapsed to her knees, breathless, tears streaming down her face. Behind her, in the distance, she heard faint shouting. Dr. Hale's voice, panicked. He stopped breathing. Elena looked toward the mansion. Then toward the dark road where the SUV had vanished. Her heart split in two. If she went back now, Adrian might die. If she chased the SUV, she might lose the only vial that could save him. She had seconds to choose. Seconds that could destroy or save two families. Her hands shook violently. Her breath came in sobs. "I can't lose him," she whispered. "I can't." And then another voice echoed from the shadows behind her. A voice she had never heard before, but one that spoke her name like a secret. "Elena, don't choose yet. You don't know the whole truth." She turned and saw a figure step out of the darkness. A man, holding a badge, and wearing a pendant she recognized instantly. The pendant her sister used to wear. The pendant glinted under the dim parking lot light. A small silver crescent, scratched at the edges, wrapped around a tiny yellow bead. Elena's breath vanished. "No," she whispered. That belonged to my sister." "How do you have that?" The man stepped closer, hands raised to show he meant no harm. He was in his mid-40s, dressed in plain clothes, hair windswept as if he'd been running for hours. The badge in his hand gleamed. "Federal investigator." "Elena Vargas," he said softly. "My name is Agent Rowan Hale." Her heart stopped. "Hale?" she repeated. "As in?" "Yes," he said. "Marcus Hale is my brother." Elena stumbled back, shock exploding inside her. "Then you've known him this whole time? You've been watching us?" "I've been following Ms. Albright," Rowan said. "For years. Long before she got close to your family, and long before she infiltrated the Whitmores." Elena stared at him, mind spinning. "My sister's pendant. How did you?" Rowan took a shaky breath. "Because your sister gave it to me." Elena froze. Her ears rang. "What?" she whispered. "No. No. My sister died in a clinic. Alone." I held her hand. "I'm sorry," Rowan said, stepping closer. "But what you saw, that wasn't her final moment." Elena's knees went weak. He reached gently into his pocket and held up something else. A photograph. Her breath caught in her throat as she recognized the girl in the picture. Her sister. But older. Maybe 16, 17. Older than she ever got to be. "That's impossible," Elena choked, tears burning her eyes. "That can't be real." "It is," Rowan said quietly. "Your sister survived the trial, for a while. She didn't die the night you think she did. I know you were told she passed during that final collapse, but the truth is, she was transferred." Transferred. The word slammed into Elena like a blow. "To where?" she demanded. "Why? Why would they lie to us?" Rowan hesitated. "Elena, the clinic wasn't just treating her. They were studying her. When her markers shifted, she became the key to the stabilizer formula. They panicked. They moved her to a secure research ward." Elena stared in horror. "No, no. My father searched for her. For years. He thought she was dead." "That was the point," Rowan said. "Albright and others buried the records. Your father got too close, so they framed him. Forced him into hiding." Elena gasped. Her father's ruined life. Her sister's stolen fate. All connected. "Why didn't my sister come home?" she whispered. "If she was alive, why didn't she come back to us?" Rowan's expression darkened. "Because she disappeared." Elena's heart shattered all over again. "Disappeared," she repeated. What do you mean disappeared? Rowan stepped closer, voice low. It means, he said, that someone took her from that facility before we could recover her. Someone with access. Someone who knew about her value. Elena's hands trembled. Who? We don't know, Rowan said. But she left this behind. He held out the pendant. Elena reached for it with shaking fingers, closing her hand around the last piece of the sister she loved. Rowan continued, voice tight with urgency. We think the girl who took the vial tonight, the one Ms. Albright shoved into that SUV, might be connected to her. She might even be. He stopped suddenly, eyes narrowing. Elena's heart climbed into her throat. She might be what? She demanded. Rowan looked directly into her eyes, his voice dropping to a whisper. She might be related to you. Silence crashed over the parking lot. Elena stumbled back. No. No, that's impossible. Rowan shook his head. Elena, the timing fits. The age fits. Her medical records match patterns we've only ever seen in your bloodline. If the girl is who we think she is. Elena's pulse hammered. Her skin went cold. Her vision blurred. You're saying, she whispered. You're saying my sister had a child? Rowan nodded slowly. And that child just stole the only thing that can save Adrian's life. Elena covered her mouth with her shaking hand, a strangled sound escaping her. I need to go back. Adrian. Elena, Rowan said urgently, grabbing her arm, if that girl is your niece, she may be the only match alive who can produce more stabilizer. The world fell silent. Elena's breath shook violently. She looked at the dark road where the SUV vanished. She looked at the mansion where Adrian was dying. She looked at the pendant in her trembling hand. Rowan said quietly. You're going to have to choose who to save first. But before you decide, you should know. He paused, swallowing hard. What? Elena whispered. Rowan stepped closer. The girl, the one who stole the vial, left something behind at the scene. Something with your sister's DNA on it. And Elena. He reached into his pocket. Pulled out a folded piece of paper. Pressed it gently into her hand. She left you a message. Elena's breath hitched. Her fingers unfolded the paper slowly. And her heart stopped at the first word. Mom? She gasped. But before she could read another word, Rowan suddenly jerked her backward, eyes widening. Elena, move. A pair of headlights blazed to life at the far end of the loading dock. Engines roared. Tires screeched. A black SUV, another one, shot out of the shadows, accelerating straight toward them. Elena screamed. Rowan shoved her aside. And the vehicle barreled forward. Straight at them. The SUV tore across the asphalt like a beast unchained, engine roaring, tires screaming, headlights blinding white. Rowan yanked Elena backward. Get down. They dove behind a stack of loading crates just as the SUV smashed into them. Wood exploded. Metal clanged. Elena hit the pavement hard, pain bursting across her shoulder. The SUV skidded, fishtailed, then swung around for another pass. They're trying to grab you. Rowan shouted, shielding her with his body. Stay behind me. But Adrian, my sister, my niece, Elena's voice broke. I know, Rowan said, breathing hard. But none of them get saved if you're taken. The SUV revved again, coming straight for them. Rowan dragged her behind a concrete pillar as the vehicle slammed into the crates they just abandoned. Splinters rained like hail. A back door flew open mid-skid. A figure leaned out. Elena's heart dropped. It wasn't Ms. Albright. It wasn't the girl. It was a man. Tall. Masked. Dressed in black tactical gear. He pointed at Elena, shouting to the driver. "Take her." Rowan pushed Elena behind him again. "Over my dead." Gunfire exploded. Concrete fragments blasted from the pillar. Elena screamed and dropped flat, clamping her hands over her head. Rowan didn't hesitate. He shoved her under the metal staircase leading up to the loading bay. "Crawl. Go." Elena scrambled beneath the stairs just as bullets ripped into the steel frame above her. "Rowan," she cried. But he didn't dive for cover. He charged. Straight at the SUV. The masked man cursed and ducked back inside, slamming the door. The SUV jerked backward, engine howling. Rowan leapt onto the hood. "Stop the car," he roared. The driver swerved violently. Rowan clung on, barely, slamming an elbow into the windshield, cracking it. "Elena," he shouted without looking back. "Run. Get to the mansion." Elena's eyes filled. "But I can't leave." "Go." Another burst of gunfire exploded. Rowan fell from the hood. The SUV braked so violently its tires screeched, and the masked man jumped out again, this time with a syringe in hand. A syringe filled with a faint, metallic silver liquid. Elena's blood froze. "Is that?" "No," she shouted. Rowan staggered to his feet, clutching his ribs. "Elena, don't move." But she couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Could only watch. The masked man approached Rowan with the syringe raised. Rowan stepped back, not in fear, but calculation. "What do you want?" he demanded. "Who sent you?" The man didn't answer. He lunged. Rowan dodged, barely, and the syringe missed his neck by an inch. Elena screamed. "Stop. What are you doing?" The masked man grabbed Rowan by the collar, slammed him against the SUV, and hissed. "You should have stayed out of this, Agent Hale. This wasn't your case." Rowan spat blood. "This is about Elena. It became my case the moment Albright started hunting her." The masked man hesitated. Just for a second. And Elena saw it. A flicker of fear. Fear of Albright? Or fear of something worse? Rowan used the hesitation, twisting, slamming the man's wrist against the car. The syringe flew into the air. Glinting. Spinning. Falling. Elena dove forward. Her fingers brushed the metal. But the masked man kicked it across the asphalt. It shattered. Silver liquid seeped into the cracks of the pavement. The last dose. Ruined. "No," Elena whispered, knees buckling. "No, please, that was the last one." Rowan grabbed her wrist. "Elena, we have to move, now." The masked man snarled and reached for a gun holstered at his hip. Rowan shoved Elena behind him again. "Run," he whispered urgently. "Please. I can hold him off. Go save your—" His words cut off. The masked man fired. Rowan jerked. Elena screamed. "No!" Rowan collapsed to his knees, blood blooming across his shirt. The masked man aimed again, directly at Elena. She froze. Her heart stopped. This was it. But before the shot could fire, a second vehicle's headlights blasted across the parking lot. An engine roared. Tires screeched. A motorcycle shot out of the darkness, straight toward them. The rider leaned low, fast, precise. And in one swift motion, they kicked the gun from the masked man's hand. It skidded across the pavement. Elena gasped. The masked man stumbled back, shouting. The rider flipped up their visor, revealing the terrified, injured face of the girl who stole the vial. Her voice shook violently as she cried, "Elena, get on. Now. It's about Adrian, and your sister." Elena froze. What? What about? There's something you need to see, the girl shouted, desperate. Something she left behind. Elena's pulse hammered. Who left behind? She whispered. The girl looked at her with trembling eyes. Your sister. The masked man reached for another weapon. Rowan groaned, bleeding. Albright was gone. Adrian was dying. And the girl, the possible niece she'd never known, held out her hand. Elena, she cried, voice cracking, if you want to save him, you have to come with me. Right now. Elena stared at her. Then at Rowan. Then at the mansion. Then at the dark road stretching into the unknown. Her heart tore in two. She made her choice. She ran. And the moment she reached the motorcycle, a voice echoed from behind her. Elena, wait. She turned. And saw someone at the doorway of the mansion. Someone she never expected to see again. Someone who should have been inside, dying. Someone who was standing. Adrian. Barely able to breathe. Barely able to stand. But alive. And calling her name. Elena, don't go, he choked out, reaching for her. Please, stay. She stared at him. Torn. As the motorcycle engine revved beneath her. And then. The masked man seized the moment. He lifted his gun. Aimed. And fired. The gunshot tore through the night. Elena screamed. Adrian staggered, but not because the bullet hit him. Rowan, bleeding, barely conscious, had thrown himself between Adrian and the masked man. The bullet slammed into Rowan's shoulder. Rowan collapsed with a cry, hitting the pavement hard. No! Elena shouted, choking on a sob. Stop, please stop. The masked man cursed and aimed again, but the girl on the motorcycle yanked Elena toward her. Hold on, she cried. I can't leave them. Elena sobbed. Rowan is dying, Adrian. You can't help them if you're dead too, the girl shouted, voice cracking. Get on. Another gunshot. Sparks flew from the motorcycle frame. No more time. Elena sprang onto the back seat, gripping the girl's waist just as the masked man sprinted toward them. The girl twisted the throttle. The motorcycle shot forward with a sharp scream of the engine. Wind whipped across Elena's face. The masked man fired again, bullets sparking off concrete. Elena! Adrian shouted behind them. Don't go! His voice shattered her. But the girl shouted over the wind. If you want to save him, you have to trust me. Tears blurred Elena's vision. She clung tighter as the motorcycle tore down the back road, leaving the mansion, the gunman, and Adrian behind. The girl weaved through side streets, ducking under low branches, skidding around sharp turns, speeding as if she knew every inch of the city. Elena could barely breathe. "Why are they trying to kill me?" she shouted over the engine. "Who are they?" But the girl didn't answer. Not until they finally burst through a line of trees and skidded to a stop beside an abandoned greenhouse on the outskirts of the Whitmore estate. The girl jumped off, trembling. Elena slid off after her, legs shaking so hard she nearly collapsed. The wind rustled the torn canvas roof of the greenhouse. Weeds whispered through broken concrete. "Why did you bring me here?" Elena asked breathlessly. "What is this place?" The girl swallowed hard. "This," she whispered, "is where it happened." Elena's heart pounded. "Where what happened?" The girl walked to the greenhouse doors, hands shaking so fiercely she could barely grip the rusted handle. "Elena, your sister." Elena felt her knees give. The girl opened the greenhouse door. Inside, the moonlight illuminated rows of broken tables, old medical crates, and shattered glass. Everything smelled of earth and dust. "I don't understand," Elena whispered. "My sister never came here. She died in a clinic." She didn't die there," the girl whispered. "She escaped." Elena's breath froze. "No," she said. "No, that's not. She was too sick, she couldn't even stand. How could she?" "She didn't escape alone." Elena felt the world tilt. "Who helped her?" The girl turned. Her voice trembled. "She did." "What does that mean?" The girl stepped closer, hesitant, afraid. Her eyes shimmered with tears. "Elena," she whispered, "you asked who I am." Elena swallowed, throat tight. "Are you my niece?" The girl wiped her cheek. "I don't know," she said. "I never knew my parents. I only know what I was told." "Told by who?" Elena whispered. The girl pointed toward a shadowed corner of the greenhouse. "Elena, she left me something. Something for you." Elena turned toward the dark corner. A sealed metal case sat there. Dusty. Locked. And marked with a medical symbol. Elena's breath caught. Her sister's initials were etched into it. V.V. Her knees shook. She reached for the case. But the girl grabbed her wrist suddenly. "Elena, wait." Elena froze. The girl's hand was ice cold and trembling. "You need to know something before you open it," the girl whispered. "Something about your sister. Something they've been hiding from everyone. Even from you." Elena's heart pounded. "What is it?" she breathed. The girl took a step back. And another. Fear flooding her eyes. "Elena." Her voice cracked. "Your sister didn't just escape that night." Elena swallowed hard, unable to speak. "She didn't run from the research team." The girl's face went pale, her voice barely a whisper now. "She ran because she discovered something." Elena's breath trembled. "What did she discover?" The girl whispered. "That someone in the Whitmore family wanted her dead." Elena's stomach dropped. "No. No, Adrian's family would never." But the girl shook her head. "You don't understand," she whispered. "It wasn't Adrian." Elena froze. Her blood ran cold. Before she could speak, a twig snapped outside. Both girls spun toward the dark trees. Footsteps. Slow. Deliberate. Approaching. Elena, the girl whispered, they followed us. Elena grabbed the metal case, heart pounding. And then a shadow stepped into the moonlight. Tall. Familiar. Terrifying in its calm. Elena, they said softly. Come away from her. You're in danger. The girl backed up fast, terrified. Don't listen to them, run. But Elena couldn't move. Because the figure in the doorway was someone she knew. Someone she trusted. Someone she never imagined would be standing there, looking at her like that. Elena, the figure repeated gently, extending a hand. It's time you knew the truth. To be continued. You said. Continue. ChatGPT said. Here is the next chapter, emotional, dramatic, clean, family-friendly, and ending with a powerful, suspenseful cliffhanger. Elena's breath caught in her throat. The shadowed figure stepped fully into the greenhouse, moonlight washing over their face. Mrs. Whitmore. Adrian's mother. Elegant. Controlled. Expression unreadable. Her voice was calm, almost soothing, too soothing. Elena, she said quietly, please step away from that girl. The girl beside Elena startled, stumbling backward. No, Eno, don't listen to her. She's lying. Mrs. Whitmore didn't even look at the girl. Her eyes stayed fixed on Elena, steady, deliberate, almost tender. You're trembling, she murmured. Come here. Let's get you somewhere safe. Safe? Elena whispered, voice cracking. From who? The girl pulled on Elena's sleeve, panicked. From her. Don't you get it? She's the one who. Enough, Mrs. Whitmore said sharply. The single word sliced through the air like a blade. The girl flinched. Elena's heart raced. Mrs. Whitmore softened her tone again. Elena, darling, you've been dragged into something cruel and complicated. Let me explain. Elena swallowed hard. Explain what? She whispered. That you're hunting this girl? That someone tried to kill me? That my sister, may have been running from your family? Mrs. Whitmore's expression flickered, pain, or annoyance, or something darker. Your sister was a tragic case, she said quietly. But don't confuse her suffering with conspiracy. You're overwhelmed. Come back with me. I'll protect you. The same way you protected Adrian? Elena shot back, voice shaking. He collapsed at dinner. He could have died tonight. And you weren't even surprised. Mrs. Whitmore's jaw tightened. Elena, she said slowly, you do not understand what Adrian inherited. You do not understand what you've inherited by caring for him. The girl stepped in front of Elena, shaky but brave. Don't go with her, she whispered urgently. She's not here to help you. She's here to take the case. Mrs. Whitmore's eyes flickered toward the metal case in Elena's grip. Ah! There it was. The truth she hadn't spoken. She didn't come for Elena. She came for the case. Elena, Mrs. Whitmore murmured, stepping closer, you don't even know what you're holding. It's dangerous. It belongs to Whitmore Laboratories. Hand it to me, carefully, and no one else has to get hurt. No one else? Elena repeated, stepping back. What happened to Rowan? Why did someone shoot him? Why were there gunmen after me? Why did that girl, she pointed toward her trembling companion, say my sister left something for me here? Mrs. Whitmore's face went cold. You trust her? She asked, voice low. This child who just stole from us? This criminal who ran from our security teams? I stole because she told me to, the girl snapped back. Mrs. Whitmore's gaze sharpened. I told you to do nothing of the sort. The girl's hands trembled violently. No, not you, she whispered. Her. Elena turned. Who? She asked. The girl shook her head, terrified, biting her lip until it bled. I can't say. I'm not supposed to. If I talk, she said she'd. Crack. A twig snapped somewhere outside. Mrs. Whitmore stiffened. The girl's breath hitched. Elena froze. Someone else was out there. Someone listening. Mrs. Whitmore stepped forward quickly. Elena, give me the case. Now. No, the girl cried, blocking Elena with her body. Don't touch it. You're not supposed to. Mrs. Whitmore lunged. Elena stumbled backward, clutching the metal case to her chest. The girl grabbed Elena's arm. Run. Elena. Mrs. Whitmore barked, almost desperate. Stop. But Elena didn't. She sprinted deeper into the greenhouse, weaving between broken tables, heart pounding. The girl ran beside her, breath ragged. We have to get to the back exit, G.O. Behind them, Mrs. Whitmore's heels clicked sharply across the concrete. Elena, if you run, she warned, you are making the biggest mistake of your life. Glass shattered as Elena's shoulder brushed a cracked pane. Moonlight spilled in silver floods across the dead plants. The girl pointed. There, through that door. Elena lunged for the back exit. But just as her hand touched the handle, two arms seized her from behind. Strong. Cold. Unyielding. Elena screamed. The case clattered to the floor. The girl skidded to a halt, eyes wide with horror. Elena. Elena kicked, fought, twisted. But the grip tightened. A low voice whispered at her ear, dripping venom. You should have left it alone. Elena went still. The girl froze. Mrs. Whitmore stared in shock. Elena's pulse hammered. She knew that voice. She knew it intimately. She turned her head, horrified. And saw the face she never expected. The face of someone she trusted. Someone who shouldn't have been here. Someone who should have been unconscious inside the mansion. Elena, he whispered with a broken smile. Why didn't you stay where you belonged? Adrian. Alive. Awake. And holding her prisoner. Elena couldn't breathe. Adrian's arms were locked around her, strong despite his earlier collapse. His chest rose and fell against her back, too fast, too shallow. He was still sick. Still dying. Yet he held her as if he'd never fallen at all. Adrian, Elena whispered, trembling. What are you doing? Let me go, please, I don't want to hurt you. You won't, Adrian said softly. You never could. The girl who'd helped Elena, frightened but fierce, took one step toward them. Adrian, she pleaded, don't do this. She didn't know. She didn't know what your family did. Adrian's grip tightened. I'm not doing anything to her. Mrs. Whitmore hurried forward. Adrian. Let her go this instant. He didn't even look at his mother. Instead, he whispered into Elena's ear. I'm the reason they want that case. Elena froze. What? She breathed. Adrian exhaled shakily. I didn't collapse because of a random episode. I collapsed because I interrupted something I wasn't supposed to see. Mrs. Whitmore's face went white. Adrian, stop talking. But he didn't stop. Not anymore. Elena, Adrian said, voice breaking, I saw the research files. I saw your sister's case history. I saw how she was moved. How she was studied. How she survived longer than they said. Tears filled Elena's eyes. Why didn't you tell me? Because I was afraid, Adrian whispered. Afraid of the truth. Afraid of what it would mean for you. For us. The girl stepped forward. Tell her the rest. Adrian swallowed hard. I did, he whispered. I told her. Elena frowned. Told who? Mrs. Whitmore took a slow, terrified step toward her son. Adrian. Don't you dare. But it was too late. Adrian nodded toward the girl. She's the one I confided in. She's the one who helped me look for the missing records. She's the one who found out who Elena's sister really was. Elena's breath hitched. The girl lifted her chin, voice trembling. Your sister didn't die in that clinic, Elena. Elena wiped her cheeks. I know. You said she escaped. You said she discovered something. But what does that have to do with you? With Adrian? The girl swallowed. She wasn't researching a cure for herself, Elena. She looked down. She was researching a cure, for me. Elena staggered. No, she whispered. No. That means you. The girl nodded, tears spilling. I'm not your niece. Her voice broke. I'm your sister. The world tilted. Elena's knees buckled. Adrian caught her before she fell, lifting her gently and finally releasing her from his hold, but staying close, hands supporting her. Elena, he said softly, she didn't die. She was taken. She escaped. And she had a child, yes. He touched Elena's shaking hand. But she also lived long enough to save another. The girl, young, fragile, desperate, stepped closer. I was dying too, she whispered. Same symptoms. Same genetic signature. They took me because they thought I could replace her in the research. But before she disappeared, she hid me. Mrs. Whitmore's shoulders slumped. A lifetime of secrets weighing her down. Your sister, she whispered, was unstoppable. Brilliant. Terrified. She knew too much. She ran because someone inside the project wanted to end it. To end her. Who? Elena demanded, voice hoarse. Who wanted her gone? Mrs. Whitmore closed her eyes. Your father, she said quietly. Elena recoiled. No, no, he loved her more than anything. He did, Mrs. Whitmore said. But the research investors didn't. They thought he'd expose everything. They believed he'd sabotage the program. They were wrong, but they punished him anyway. Adrian stepped between his mother and Elena. "He lost everything trying to save you both," he said softly. "Trying to save all of us." Elena sobbed into her hands. Her father. Her sister. Her almost lost life. Everything twisted by greed and fear. The girl, her sister, placed a trembling hand on Elena's shoulder. "I found her notes," she whispered. "I found everything she left behind. Including a formula." She knelt beside the metal case and carefully opened the latch. Inside, perfectly preserved, lay a single sealed vial and a stack of handwritten pages. Adrian inhaled sharply, swaying on his feet. "Elena," he murmured, "I recognize that label. That's the completed stabilizer." Elena's heart pounded. "For you?" Adrian nodded weakly. "And for her. And for anyone else who inherited this curse." Mrs. Whitmore burst into tears, covering her mouth. The girl lifted the vial. "If we give it to him now," she whispered, "he'll live." Elena turned to Adrian, pale, shaking, sweating under the moonlight. He tried to smile. "You choose," he whispered. "It has to be your choice." Elena cupped his face with trembling hands. "I love you," she whispered. He leaned his forehead against hers. "And I love you," he breathed. "Whatever happens next." Elena nodded once, firm, certain, and turned to her sister. "Give it to him." The girl carefully opened the vial and injected the stabilizer as Adrian collapsed into Elena's arms. A heartbeat. 2. Then. A shuddering breath. Adrian's color returned. His pulse steadied. His body stopped shaking. He exhaled and opened his eyes. "Elena," he whispered, smiling weakly, "I'm okay." She sobbed into his shoulder. Mrs. Whitmore knelt beside them, shaking with relief. "My son, my boy." The girl, Elena's sister, watched with tears streaming silently down her cheeks. Rowan stumbled into the greenhouse then, supported by 2 paramedics, bloodied but alive. Police sirens wailed in the distance. The nightmare was ending. At last. Elena gently stood, facing her sister. "We'll fix this," she whispered. "Together. Every lie. Every wound. Every missing piece of our family." Her sister nodded, crying harder. "Elena. I've waited my whole life to hear that." As first light touched the horizon, Adrian reached for Elena's hand. She took it. Her sister took the other. 3 lives broken by secrets. Finally stepping into the dawn. Together.